Mavado is about to be slapping myself and the opponent together like some sort of a deadly Three Stooges skit. Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and I am going back to Mortal Kombat 1 again for a Fatal Friday video. Fatal Friday is a series where I look back on recordings I did going into the Kombat League when I was trying to get the unique finishers for various characters like their fatalities and brutalities. This week I'm cycling back to the team up of Mavado and Havik, and this video is going to be highlighting the cameo Mavado's Brutality Belly Pop, which is named really similarly to a reptile brutality, but that one's Pop Belly. Actually, as I'm talking about it, this kind of reminds me, this is the second time I have been talking about Reptile when it comes to one of his brutalities, kind of sharing the name of a later DLC character. Like, of course, Reptile was a day one character whenever the game launched, but later on we ended up getting other characters like Omni-Man and eventually other cameo characters like Mavado. And I bring that up because previously I talked about Omni-Man having an almost exactly named brutality when compared to Reptile. Like, both of them have a brutality named Behind You. The only difference is one of them has an exclamation point. And now here with Mavado, he also has an almost exactly named brutality, only they flip the words around. Instead of Pop Belly, it's Belly Pop. Yeah, at this exact moment I kind of feel like the creators were starting to run out of ideas for names for brutalities. And then they were just like, you know what, let's steal the names of all of Reptile's brutalities and just mildly change them. Nobody's going to notice. And in all fairness, if I wasn't doing videos on so many of these, I probably would not have noticed, but you know what, I did. But yeah, this brutality from Mavado, the Belly Pop brutality, that is going to be the brutality version of one of his attacks where he grabs the opponent wherever they are on the screen if they're not blocking, and then he uses his elastic bands to then slam you and your opponent into each other. This does recoil damage to you, but it still does more damage to your opponent. One of the funny things about it doing recoil damage is that it can actually kill the person using it. It only does 20 damage, but if you have less than that and you try to using it against your opponent, naturally it's going to kill you. It's kind of similar to another cameo, Jax, with his ground pound attack. Now, I have killed myself accidentally using Jax's ground pound attack before, but I have never done so using Mavado's recoil damaging attack. Although I think an opponent of mine has done that before. I can't quite remember. And speaking of opponents, today I am going against somebody using Sindel in the cameo Sareena. I have definitely said this in other videos, but Sindel is kind of on the lower end of characters I end up fighting against in the Kombat League. I wasn't completely unfamiliar with her, but I was also not really that used to fighting against her, so at times I don't do the best job of countering or punishing her attacks. It is kind of funny looking back on this because I have since started playing Sindel, and I have a lot better of an idea of what to look for whenever going against her. But right now, that is definitely not the case. I have a general idea, but I'm still definitely kind of winging it. Regardless though, in the very first round of the match, for a long time it was really one-sided. I got off to a really large life lead against Sindel, largely because I had her cornered, but eventually, Sindel manages to fight her way out of that corner and start landing some combos against me. She makes somewhat of a comeback against me, but the big life deficit she found herself in was one that she could not overcome, and I ended up winning the very first round. Round number 2 went almost the exact opposite way, where it was me that was in the big life deficit trying to make some sort of a comeback against Sindel, which I kind of almost did. In fact, at one point, I do get Sindel stuck in the Mavado trap, and I considered going for my fatal blow, and that might have won me the match. But in the moment, I wasn't sure, and I really was not confident that the fatal blow was going to do enough damage. So I decided to save it and went for a regular combo, and because of that, Sindel survived just long enough to win the second round, taking us into this third and final round, where yet again I was trying to make a comeback because I fell behind against Sindel. There's no reason to hold back in this case though. I went ahead and used the fatal blow because if I don't use it now, I'm probably not going to. That ends up cutting into her life lead substantially, and little by little, I ended up chipping away at her health. Then I noticed that she was in range for Mavado's attack to kill, and I would survive it.
Brutality! Your life meant nothing. Havik wins.
And there it was, that was the Belly Pop brutality for the cameo Mavado. Yeah, once I saw that I would survive that attack and it would kill Sindel, I started running away immediately and just hoping that she would not block whenever I summoned Mavado, or maybe she would be going for a projectile where she could not do anything to defend herself. Whatever the case, Mavado grabbed her, and then we got slammed together with enough force to send Sindel's body parts flying across the arena. which is definitely deadly for her and basically just a regular combo for Havik. But yeah, there is something about that Mavado attack I did not know whenever doing these videos. I had not tested it, but since trying out other characters with Mavado like General Shao, I realized that whenever knocked into the air, generally speaking the opponent cannot be grabbed by Mavado using that attack, but that's only if they are too high. If you time it right, there is a small window of opportunity just before they hit the ground when that Mavado attack will still work. And I have not tried activating the brutality when landing the attack in that way before, but it seems like it might be possible to combo into this. I have not tried it, so I don't know if it would work. But hey, if you have a character where if you pair them up with Mavado you think you can pull that off, go give it a try. Let me know if comboing into that brutality works. Anyway, back to the match at hand versus Sindel. There's really not too much to say about that very first round. Pretty much everything I did worked and everything was going in my favor. I ended up winning the very first round with a gigantic life lead. Here in the second round, things are still going really well for me, but things are a bit more competitive. And then I start getting really risky towards the end of the match. I should mention that even though this is a video where I am highlighting the belly pop brutality, that was actually my backup brutality. And what I mean by that is, I was prioritizing trying to get other more difficult brutalities. There were a few with Havik that were giving me trouble. Like the big one was the kablooey brutality. So whenever doing these matches, I was pretty much always going to go for one of those if I had a good enough life lead, or the opponent was just one hit away from death. But if I found myself getting too close to death myself, like right there, Sindel was one hit away from death. I tried going for the kablooey brutality, it did not work, and that was an accident. Oh well, I guess we're getting a fatality.
Fatality. Havik wins.
So, okay, I was just going to hit Sindel to end the match, but I guess I had inadvertently already done all the right directional buttons in the correct sequence to where whatever button I just pressed caused the atomic heart fatality to start. That wasn't intentional, but okay, cool. We get 2 finishers in one video. I bring that up because at one point in this match, Sindel goes to 0.09 health, one hit away from death. And I clearly could have ended the match earlier, but I do not. And that's because I was trying to go for one of those other way more difficult brutalities. And at the very end of that final round, Sindel did a super unsafe attack, and I tried punishing it with the projectile necessary to do the kablooey brutality. The problem is that projectile is slow as hell, and it did not hit her in time before she could do something else. And in this case, she did that cartwheel kick overhead attack that she has. And I don't know if it's because we hit each other at the same time or what, but even though that projectile did defeat Sindel, it did not activate the kablooey brutality. But you know what, that's fine. We still got the belly pop brutality, that is going to be good enough. And I'll be sure to show that brutality one more time at the very end of this outro, that way we can enjoy it one final time before we part ways on this Fatal Friday. But yeah, overall this was a pretty strong showing against whoever the Sindel opponent was I had in the Kombat League, which thank you to that random Sindel. It was a fun one. And yeah, this was the very first kameo Mavado brutality that I have covered. Now I recorded these back before the Chaos Reigns DLC came out, and Mavado has one more brutality he got after the launch of that DLC. So even though I have all the day 1 finishers for Mavado, that new brutality is noticeably absent. Maybe at some point I'll go back into the Kombat League and try getting that brutality now, but that is to be seen. In any case though, we still have his fatality and his other day 1 brutality to look forward to. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out the other stuff I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I do have other Mortal Kombat 1 finisher videos just like this. All of those can be found under the Fatal Friday playlists. And then I have a bunch of other game-related stuff as well. Playthroughs of stuff like the remakes of Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, playthroughs of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, Crash Bandicoot, and I'm going to be releasing a full playthrough of Endling Extinction is Forever in the near future. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out. Regardless of what you choose to do though, just thank you for checking out this video for this long. And for now, take care and hopefully I will see you next time.
Brutality.
Your life meant nothing.
Havik wins.